Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 341, The Mythical Darkest Day. The battle between Dylan and Leon was over, and word of the match and its outcome spread like wildfire across the world. News articles and forum threads began popping up like mushrooms after rain. All across the regions, online forums were abuzz. Countless trainers flooded Gaylor's forums just to enjoy the show. LMAO, y'all hyped up the unbeaten champion 24/7. But the guy couldn't even take a single win off Kanto's champion Dylan. What a joke. You laughing at what, exactly? Fine, Kanto fans can gloat, but you? A Kalos trainer? Why don't you send Diantha over here and let's see if Leon doesn't wipe the floor with her? Oof, someone's mad. What gives you the right to compare your boy Leon to Diantha? Just cause he got steamrolled by Dylan? PSH, anyone with a brain could see Dylan's just too strong. Exactly. Kanto supremacy, baby. The forums were in flames. Many Gaylor fans were understandably disgruntled. The loss was humiliating. But there were still plenty of Gaylor loyalists who stood their ground. Leon was beloved in Gaylor. He had the respect of nearly every trainer there. So sure, he lost to Dylan. Fine. Dylan was Kanto's champion, and Kanto had always been the seat of the Pokemon League. Losing to someone like him wasn't shameful. But the sheer one-sidedness of the battle? Yeah, that stung. Still, what right did other regions have to laugh? You think your champions wouldn't get steamrolled just the same? Please. Yeah, the internet in Gaylor had exploded. Meanwhile, Dylan was completely unaware of the online chaos. After the match, he returned backstage to rest. Once Lily and Leaf arrived, the three joined Leon and headed for Rose Tower. Chairman Rose was already waiting in his executive office. Truly impressive, Dylan. Absolutely incredible. He applauded warmly. He'd always known Dylan was strong, but having witnessed his battle with Leon, he now understood, this guy wasn't just strong. He was inhuman. Olena served tea, her usually indifferent eyes resting on Dylan with a distinctly wary glint. In her view, Dylan was a monster. Even Leon looked like a green rookie next to him. You flatter me, Chairman, Dylan replied humbly. No flattery here. I'm sure Leon agrees, Rose said in his deep, composed voice. Leon gave a helpless smile but nodded in agreement. Still, I'm afraid our public image in Gaylor might take a bit of a hit. Rose knew the optics were going to be rough. Leon hadn't just lost, he'd been demolished. But that wasn't Leon's fault. It was Dylan's, for being on an entirely different level. Leon is plenty strong, Dylan said. Turning that narrative around is easy. Just have him battle another champion from a different region and win clean. That'll shut down all the noise. It was a simple fix. Leon was powerful. All he needed was a solid win to remind the world of that. You really think Leon is that strong? Rose looked intrigued. Leon groaned, pinching the bridge of his nose. Why did that sound so weird coming from his boss? Of course he knew Rose wasn't mocking him. But it did feel ironic, after being utterly flattened, someone was calling him strong? Of course. Out of all the trainers I know, only Lance and Giovanni could rival him. Dylan said it plainly. Rose's eyes twinkled with amusement. You can just call me Leon, Leon interjected. And? Giovanni? You mean the Viridian gym leader? He's the current head of Kanto's Elite Four, right? Correct, Dylan replied with a nod. If you ever visit Kanto, I can introduce you. Deal. Leon agreed without hesitation. Compared to Dylan, he was far more curious about Lance and Giovanni. Once was enough when it came to battling Dylan and those terrifying dragons. Unless Dylan didn't bring out those legendaries next time. Dylan, what are your plans next? Rose asked, smiling. Shall I give you a tour of Galar? Oh. Dylan raised a brow. Where to? Stowonside. Dylan's gaze flickered. Stowonside, once the heart of Galar, was rich in ancient history and home to Galar's strongest gym, Rayhan's. But that wasn't the important part. What mattered was what lay beneath it. Then I'd be honored, Dylan agreed with a smile. He was curious what Rose wanted to show him. Oh, right. Leon, this is for you. As if remembering something, Dylan pulled out a small velvet box and handed it over. A badge? Leon opened it and blinked in surprise. Inside was a deep blue emblem in the shape of a stylized dragon's head. The dragon rode a badge. You're giving me a badge? Leon asked, baffled. A very expensive one at that, Rose chuckled. I've heard the Rhoda badges are worth over 10 million poke. Of course, that meant nothing to Rose. What made them valuable was that you could only earn one by battling Dylan and gaining his approval. Just a memento. If you want the other badges later, come challenge me again, Dylan said. Leon fell into thought. So to earn the other elemental Rhoda badges, he'd just need to challenge Dylan's non-dragon lineups. Meaning, he wouldn't have to fight those dragons again. His eyes lit up. Perfect. Great. I'll challenge you in Kanto someday, Leon said, stowing the badge with renewed vigor. If he didn't have to face the legendaries again, he'd gladly battle Dylan. I'll be waiting, Dylan replied with a grin. After chatting a while longer, Rose treated them to a hearty lunch. Dylan, Lily, and Leaf then returned to their villa. Dylan checked his phone, tons of missed calls and congratulatory messages. He replied to each one before hopping into the shower. Meanwhile, Leaf and Lily were sprawled on the couch, gleefully scrolling through all the chaos on the forums. Calyrex was also staring at a phone nearby, completely absorbed in its chess game. The next morning, Rose arranged 2 flying taxis and headed for Stowonside. They arrived around noon. Stowonside was a fascinating city, a blend of medieval ruins and vibrant local culture. The architecture had a strong historical flair. As they walked through the streets, Rose narrated the city's long history with his usual eloquent charm. Soon, his tone shifted. Dylan, he said, I heard you're quite well read on regional history. Is that true? Not especially, Dylan replied modestly. I just loved books growing up, so I've picked up a bit here and there. Then you've surely heard of the disaster that struck Galar 3,000 years ago? Rose asked smoothly. Leaf and Lily perked up at that, curious. Of course, Dylan nodded. 3,000 years ago, a Pokemon tried to absorb Galar's energy to survive. It brought about the phenomenon known as the Darkest Day. A black vortex appeared in the sky, enveloping the region and triggering widespread destruction. Rose looked surprised. Dylan really did know. The vortex caused many Pokemon to undergo uncontrolled, extreme Gigantamax transformations. They went berserk, ravaging everything. Galar fell into chaos. It almost led to the region's collapse. That means, the Pokemon that caused it was the origin of Gigantamax energy? Lily immediately connected the dots. Just like how Terrapagos was the source of Terra energy in Paldea, this Pokemon must have been behind Dynamax. Exactly, Rose said, impressed. So what happened after that? Leaf asked. At the height of the crisis, Rose explained, 2 heroes appeared wielding a sword and shield, and together they defeated the beast, saving the region. That was the Galarian legend. The heroes of old had vanquished the dark Pokemon and restored peace. Are you interested in that Pokemon, Dylan? Rose asked meaningfully. Dylan raised an eyebrow. Chairman Rose, do you know where it is? Come with me, Rose said with a knowing smile. This time, he didn't take them sightseeing. Instead, they headed to Stow-on-Side Stadium. From there, Rose led them to a hidden underground facility via elevator. "This is the power plant," he explained. "It supplies Dynamax energy to every stadium across Galar. The energy here is vital. Access is strictly limited." He guided them through the corridors until they reached a steel door. But the most important thing in this facility, Rose typed in a passcode. The door slowly creaked open, revealing a crimson glow from within. "Isn't the energy itself? It's this, the legendary Pokemon that nearly destroyed Galar 3,000 years ago, Eternatus." A massive, nightmarish skeletal dragon lay coiled within the chamber, its form pulsing with ominous red light. The bringer of the darkest day. The origin of Dynamax. Eternatus. Dylan's eyes lit up. A poison/dragon type. Chapter 342, Dylan, you should catch Eternatus. Eternatus, an ancient Pokemon that came to this world via a meteorite 20,000 years ago. And then, 3,000 years ago. In an attempt to preserve its own life force, Eternatus began absorbing the energy of the Galar region, triggering what became known as the Darkest Day. That phenomenon caused countless Pokemon to Dynamax or Gigantamax uncontrollably and fall into violent frenzies. As a result, Galar was nearly destroyed. It was only thanks to the arrival of the Sword King Zacian and the Shield King Zamazenta, who joined forces and defeated Eternatus, that the region was saved. Even then, the remnants of Eternatus' shattered body still radiated immense energy, eventually forming what came to be known as wishing stars and wishing pieces, scattered across Galar. Some fragments became the foundation for modern energy dens. Now, 3 millennia later, the still dormant Eternatus had been discovered by Chairman Rose and brought to the power plant. Dylan had always known Rose was secretly containing Eternatus, but he hadn't expected to be brought here directly. "It looks terrifying." Lily clutched the sleeve of Dylan's coat, gazing at the slumbering Eternatus with visible unease. Its appearance truly wasn't beautiful. In Lily's eyes, it was even more unsettling than Kyurem. Like a massive skeletal dragon, it glowed with ominous red light, its body encased in deep purple, bone-like structures. Just the sight of it gave off an intense aura of malice and dread. Deep Eternatus. Poison/dragon type. Gigantic Pokemon. Ability, Pressure. Known moves, Eternabeam, Dynamax Cannon, Flamethrower, Dragon Dance, Dragon Pulse, Recover. Entry, it draws in energy from Galar through its chest core to maintain its vitality. The Rotom Dex displayed Eternatus' data. Lily frowned at the entry. Nothing about it screamed good guy. Energy to maintain vitality? Wasn't that exactly like Necrozma, who needed light to survive? Eternatus, Dylan licked his lips. "Chairman, this Pokemon clearly isn't benevolent." He was intrigued. After all, he already had 2 Necrozmas, Kyurem, Rayquaza, Reshiram, and both Miraidon and Koraidon in his arsenal of legendary dragons. But really, who would ever say no to one more? Especially this one. Eternatus' Eternamax form in the games boasted a base stat total of 1125. Granted, real-world battles weren't as simple as game stats. Still, Eternamax Eternatus was undoubtedly top tier among even the highest-ranking legendaries. Indeed, Rose nodded. "But I believe if you were the one to capture it, there'd be no danger." That caught both Leaf and Lily off guard. They stared at Rose, stunned. "You want Dylan to catch Eternatus?" "Eternatus isn't just any Pokemon, Chairman." "You're really giving it to me?" Dylan asked, raising a brow. He didn't buy the idea of Rose being this generous. "Yes," Rose confirmed with a solemn nod. Then he sighed. "I won't hide it, I had originally hoped Leon would be the one to capture it." Rose wasn't lying. From the beginning, everything he'd done was for Galar's development and prosperity. Even secretly keeping Eternatus, the very being behind the Darkest Day, he considered it a necessary evil. His plan had always been for Leon to tame the beast. But Dylan shook his head. Leon won't be able to control it. Eternatus was the source of Dynamax energy. Against it, Leon's Gigantamax abilities would be useless. In the games, Leon may have pushed it to its limits, but that was only its base form. If pushed too far, Eternatus could absorb all of Galar's energy and enter its Eternamax state. Exactly, Rose agreed. Leon's sense of justice wouldn't allow him to use something so dangerous. And that was the truth. Rose had worked with Leon for years and knew him well. Leon was selfless, just, kind, enthusiastic. He'd do anything for others, but not if it meant risking countless lives. Eternatus had a history, it was a walking natural disaster. But you, Dylan, you can do it, can't you? Rose looked Dylan in the eye. Someone of your ability. Capturing Eternatus should be no problem. Oh, I can catch it, Dylan admitted. But tell me why. What's the real reason you're offering this? Because it's about to wake up, Rose said quietly, looking at Eternatus with complicated emotion. My teams reported that its vitals are rising. It won't be long before it fully awakens. And when it does, it'll have to be dealt with, he sighed. Leaf suddenly frowned. But Chairman, if you knew how dangerous Eternatus is, why did you bring it here, right under Stoonside? This was a major city, home to many residents and tourists. It seemed reckless. Rose fell silent for a moment, then let out a low laugh. Do you know why Galar is so prosperous today? It's thanks to our energy systems. He turned, facing the three of them with a serious expression. I've run the numbers. In about 1,000 years, Galar's current energy supply will be completely depleted. Our society cannot survive without energy. Without it, this land, so beautiful, so radiant, will cease to exist. And when that day comes, Galar's people will face extinction. Lily and Leaf's jaws dropped. 1,000 years from now? You don't understand, do you? Or maybe you think I'm crazy worrying about something 1,000 years away. Rose chuckled at their stunned faces. But that's my dream and my duty as chairman. I want to see Galar flourish forever. That's why I began researching Galar's history and discovered Eternatus. If we can tame it, we'll have access to limitless Dynamax energy. Rose's voice became fervent. His calm demeanor gave way to passion. Leaf's expression twitched. Suddenly, this formerly composed, gentlemanly chairman seemed unhinged. Was this guy serious? Worrying about energy a millennium in the future? Was he a genius, or just insane? Impressive, Chairman, Dylan murmured. You understand? Rose asked, eyes lighting up. I do. It wasn't hard to grasp. After all, wishing stars, the energy source used to cross Galar, were the result of Eternatus' shattered body. Dynamax energy was basically Eternatus energy. Rose's theory wasn't wrong, tame Eternatus, and you essentially have an infinite power source. But that was easier said than done. Eternatus wasn't about to sit there and become a glorified battery. We're nearly at the final step, Rose said. Capturing Eternatus is crucial. Dylan, if you're willing, I will entrust it to you. Will you become Galar's new champion? Dylan blinked. If you say yes, Rose continued, all of Galar's resources will be at your disposal. I'll even transfer full ownership of the Macrocosmos Group to you. Leaf and Lily both gasped. Macrocosmos was one of the world's most powerful corporations, perhaps even surpassing Sylph Company. It dominated Galar's entire economy, controlling virtually every industry. And it was solely owned by Rose. Very generous, Dylan said with a smirk. But I'm afraid I'll have to decline. He wasn't interested in switching regions. Money and status? Meaningless. To someone like him, wealth was just a number. Changing that number meant nothing. I see. That's a shame. Rose sighed, though he'd expected the answer. Very well, Dylan. Go ahead and capture Eternatus. We'll discuss the rest after. One way or another, Eternatus couldn't stay here. If it woke up, the consequences would be catastrophic. After seeing today's battle, Rose understood clearly. If even Leon couldn't handle those legendary dragons, there was no way he could stop Eternatus alone. In the game, Dylan thought. Rose only dared release Eternatus because he believed Leon could stop it. But this wasn't the game. After Leon's complete loss today, Rose had lost that confidence. Eternatus isn't awake yet, Dylan observed. It will be, soon, Rose replied calmly. All we need to do is inject wishing star energy into it. That was what Rose had discovered. Wishing star energy would instantly wake Eternatus. In that case, let's not waste time, Dylan said, eyes narrowing. He was already thinking ahead. Once Eternatus awakened, the commotion would be huge. Would it draw out the twin kings of the slumbering Weald? If Eternatus Eternamaxed, Zacian and Zamazenta would respond. They might even come charging in to slice it down again. Dylan smiled. To be honest, he liked Zacian. Something about the way it held that sword in its mouth was just cool. Chapter 343, Eternamax Eternatus. Waking up Eternatus was simple enough. The real reason it slumbered was the lack of energy. Energy was its lifeblood. Without it, Eternatus would lose all vitality. 3,000 years ago, Zacian and Zamazenta had shattered its body during their battle, breaking it into fragments. Those very fragments became wishing stars and wishing pieces. Now, reviving it was as easy as reuniting those fragments with their source. Under Rose's command, mechanical arms inside the containment room moved to inject energy directly into Eternatus. A massive surge of wishing star power flowed into its body. Red light began pulsing, brighter and more ominous. A low, hoarse roar echoed in the chamber. 3 pale white orbs glowed on its head, its eyes. Eternatus was awake. A crushing pressure began to radiate. The colossal skeletal dragon slowly moved. It's alive. Lily clutched Dylan's sleeve, eyes fixed on the rising figure. The ancient nightmare, the darkest day, had returned. Have the orders been given? Rose asked into the intercom. Rest assured, came Olena's cool voice. The surrounding areas have already been evacuated. They weren't taking chances. No one knew how violent Eternatus would become. Ruawar! Eternatus's raspy roar rang out as its glowing crimson core began to radiate. Dynamax cannon! Boom! A massive red beam surged upward, punching a hole clean through the ceiling. Without hesitation, Eternatus slithered up through the breach and took to the skies. Woke up and already looking for more energy, huh? Dylan smirked. Some things really don't learn. Though Eternatus was undeniably one of Galar's third gods, it had lost to the twin heroes once and would again. Its poison/dragon typing left it totally countered by Zacian's fairy/steel typing. Fairy types were immune to dragon attacks. Steel resisted poison. Eternatus couldn't touch Zacian with any of its stab moves. Pair that with Zamazenta's formidable defense, and it was no wonder Eternatus had lost last time. Let's go, Dylan said, stepping out after the beast. Up above Hammerlock Stadium. Eternatus's massive body coiled through the sky like a bone dragon, basking in its freedom. The sky darkened as the familiar vortex of the darkest day began swirling overhead. It hadn't forgotten it had been beaten by those 2 mutts. This time, it would get even. Just then. You cause trouble the moment you're awake? That's no good, a calm voice called out. Eternatus looked down to see Dylan and the others on a stadium rooftop. If you keep this up, they'll come again. Why not join me instead? Dylan smiled. Thanks to the power of Viridian, even Eternatus didn't feel hostility toward him, though it wasn't exactly friendly either. But it got the message, those 2 dogs were coming. Perfect. Ruahur. The vortex above grew larger and redder. The air thickened under its expanding presence. We can't let this drag on, Dylan muttered. He pulled out a pokeball. If you're so eager to fight, I'll give you a good one. Kiram, it's your turn. Ruor. The ice dragon landed with a thunderous snarled blue lightning surged over its form.
Black Kyurem. Oh? Another legendary dragon? Rose was taken aback. Even by sight alone, it was obvious this Kyurem was no ordinary Pokemon. Beep Kyurem, black for me, dragon/ice type. Boundary Pokemon. Ability, Terravolt. Signature moves.
Entry, said to fight for an ideal world where people and Pokemon coexist in the future.
Black for me. So even this one wasn't used during the match with Leon? How many more monsters was Dylan hiding? Eternatus locked eyes with Black Kyurem.
It hissed, tension rising.
Black Kyurem bared its fangs, thrilled by the challenge. Fusion Bolt. Dylan's command rang out. Kyurem surged forward with electric blue energy crackling around it. Eternatus fired a Dynamax cannon in retaliation, but Kyurem didn't flinch. Its icy armor absorbed the hit as it charged straight through. Boom! Fusion Bolt met Dynamax cannon in a clash of titanic power. The resulting shockwave rattled the sky, painting it blue and red. Whoa!
Rose staggered back as the wind roared through the stadium. The sheer power of their battle was terrifying. Eternatus couldn't hold out. The fusion bolt tore through the blast and struck home. Its chest froze over from the impact.
Ice trumps Dragon. Even weakened, the move left a deep mark. Dragon Claw. Kyurem followed up immediately, slashing its sharp talons across Eternatus's face. Eternatus tried to retaliate with Flamethrower, but Kyurem struck first. Its attack knocked Eternatus's aim wide. Another fusion bolt. Kyurem rose high again, glowing blue. It plummeted toward its target like a meteor. Boom!
Eternatus howled in pain as it was driven into the ground, cracking the earth wide open. Kyurem hovered above, triumphant, exuding a deadly aura.
Doesn't look so tough now, Leaf commented. For something with such a scary history, it's getting wrecked pretty easily. Rose frowned. It's not that Eternatus is weak, Lily blinked, it's that Kyurem's gotten even stronger since the Ultra Space incident. True. After fusing with the alternate Zekrom back then, Kyurem's power had grown exponentially.
There's that, but mainly, Eternatus still isn't at full power, Dylan said.
Though Rose had pumped in Wishing Star energy, it wasn't enough. It had only just woken up. Eternatus snarled. It couldn't fall, not yet. Not before getting payback. Its chest lit up again, another Dynamax cannon.
Kyurem dodged swiftly, but as it looked up,
Eternatus wasn't done. The dragon twisted its massive form and dove straight into the swirling vortex in the sky. Red light pulsed. The vortex began to glow, ominous, furious. It's absorbing energy from every power spot across Galar. Dylan's voice grew serious.
Inside the whirlpool, Eternatus's body was changing. Chairman Rose, evacuate the city immediately.
And have everyone return their Pokemon before they start Dynamaxing uncontrollably. Already done. Rose nodded. Olena's on it. Dylan chuckled. Knew I could count on you. By now, the black vortex had engulfed the entire city. Red light streaked across the sky like meteors, all feeding into the eye of the storm. The atmosphere turned suffocating. Meanwhile, deep in the slumbering Weald, two canine figures stirred. The blue one opened its eyes first, a razor-sharp glint flashing across them. Zacian. Big sister? Zamazenta, the red one, approached. That damned parasite, it's alive again.
Zacian stood, eyes narrowed toward the horizon. In twin blurs of red and blue light, the two legends launched skyward.
Back at the stadium, a terrifying roar echoed across the sky. Everyone looked up. From the black vortex emerged a monstrous claw. A massive, writhing form followed. It wasn't Eternatus anymore. It was something far greater. Eternamax Eternatus. It towered over the stadium, over the city, nearly 100 meters tall. Its glowing core spun like a storm. The red energy warped space around it. Beep Eternamax Eternatus. Poison/Dragon type. Gigantic Pokemon. Ability, Pressure. Entry, its immense core radiates infinite energy, distorting time and space around it. Leaf's jaw dropped. It's huge. This thing's insane. This is what the source of Dynamax really looks like. Dylan looked up in admiration. It was immense. Terrifying. Beautiful. It all made sense now. Only a creature like this could have its body fragments turn into energy crystals. This was its true form. Dylan tossed out another Pokeball. Necrozma. Roar. A radiant golden lion appeared, Necrozma fused with Solgaleo. Dusk Mane Necrozma. Look! Nebby! Lily beamed.
Her beloved Cosmig had evolved and fused. Now, with Black Kyurem and Dusk Mane Necrozma side by side, the true battle was ready.
Eternatus roared. Red light danced between its claws. It unleashed its strongest move.
Eternabeam, a move with 160 base power, exceeding almost any normal attack.
Protect, Dylan ordered calmly.
Barriers shielded his two Pokemon as red beams rained down like divine judgment.
Boom! Boom! Boom!
Even through Protect, they were pushed back. But Dylan's voice came again clear, calm, commanding.
Fusion Bolt. Sunsteel Strike. Kyurem and Necrozma charged.
Eternatus readied another attack, this time, the Max Wormwind, Dynamax's signature Dragon-type move.
A massive storm-like energy wave erupted. But they didn't stop. They pierced through the storm. Boom! Both attacks landed.
One of Eternatus's claws was frozen solid.
It screamed. But it retaliated instantly with another Dynamax cannon.
Kyurem dodged again, entering white flame mode, igniting in blazing fire.
Necrozma took the hit and fired back with Photon Geyser. Boom!
A chain of explosions lit the sky as Blizzard from Kyurem followed up, freezing part of Eternatus's vortex body. Even under relentless assault, Eternatus roared again. It was unbelievably tanky. This thing's so damn bulky. Dylan smirked. But it's still a 2v1. No matter how hard it hit, it couldn't keep up. Then Dylan looked up. Far across the sky, two streaks of red and blue light approached at high speed. Zacian and Zamazenta were coming. Chapter 344, Eternatus, you got the guts? A streak of red and a streak of blue descended atop a rooftop, their gazes locking on the towering Eternamax Eternatus floating in the sky. Who are those two Pokemon? Rose, along with Lily and Leaf, had also noticed them. The two beams of light were simply too eye-catching. They were Zacian and Zamazenta. Zacian and Zamazenta, the legendary heroes, Dylan murmured, eyes flickering with interest. Legendary heroes? Are you sure, Dylan? Rose was surprised. No doubt about it, Dylan nodded. They're the ones who defeated Eternatus and saved Galar 3,000 years ago. Though Dylan spoke calmly, it made sense that Rose hadn't known. The truth was, after Zacian and Zamazenta ended the Darkest Day, Galar's ancient royalty, fearing these Pokemon would overshadow their power, chose to erase their involvement. They buried the records and claimed the royal family were the true heroes. Even statues built to honor the wolves were hidden away. So that's how it is. Rose narrowed his eyes, lips curling into a wry smile. How absurd. No wonder Bede uncovered two statues while excavating. These were the real heroes. Beeped Zacian, Crown Sword, Fairy-type, Warrior Pokemon. Ability, Intrepid Sword. Signature moves, Giga Impact, Close Combat, Moonblast, Iron Head, Swords Dance, Sacred Sword. Entry, said to be Zamazenta's older sister, though some claim they're rivals. Crown Sword Form. Beeped Zamazenta, Crown Shield, Fighting-type, Warrior Pokemon. Ability, Dauntless Shield. Signature moves, Giga Impact, Close Combat, Moonblast, Iron Head, Iron Defense, Metal Burst.
Entry: a Pokemon forgotten by nearly all, once turned to stone and sealed in eternal slumber. Crown Shield form. While the others watched in awe, Zacian and Zamazenta were observing Dylan's Pokemon Kyurem and Duskmane Necrozma dominating the fight. Big sis? Zamazenta looked to Zacian. Do we even need to step in? It seemed Eternatus was already on the ropes. Even without them, its defeat was inevitable. That human, his aura is strange, Zamazenta muttered as its gaze drifted toward Dylan. I sense a mix of many things. Zacian barely glanced his way. A menace like that must be destroyed completely. Its icy eyes returned to Eternatus, now burning with killing intent. It had let the creature live once. That mistake wouldn't be repeated. Zamazenta immediately understood. Zacian was decisive, always had been, and challenging her judgment had never ended well. It still remembered what happened the last time it questioned her. Those were not love taps. A solemn howl cut through the air. Zacian drew a rusted sword from her mane. Zamazenta summoned a rusted shield. In a flash of light, the two legends transformed. Crown Sword Zacian and Crown Shield Zamazenta. Whoa! So cool! Leaf's eyes sparkled as she saw them transform. Especially Zacian, with her dazzling golden sword, sharp royal markings, and regal crown, she looked like a majestic, indomitable monarch. The Sword King of Galar. Beside her, Zamazenta stood strong and steady, golden shield covering its chest, flowing blue mane now blowing, crown just like its sibling. The Shield King. Zacian and Zamazenta, huh? A pokeball opened beside Dylan. Calyrex appeared. The ancient king of bounty stared solemnly at the two legendary wolves. They were not strangers. Though these two shunned the world, sleeping in seclusion, Calyrex knew them well. Beep Zacian, Crown Sword, Fairy/Steel type, Warrior Pokemon. Ability, Intrepid Sword. Signature move, Behemoth Blade. Entry, said to be able to cleave anything in existence, it is revered as the Fairy King's blade, feared and respected alike. Beep Zamazenta, Crown Shield, Fighting/Steel type, Warrior Pokemon. Ability, Dauntless Shield. Signature move, Behemoth Bash. Entry, said to repel all attacks, it is known as the Fighting King's Shield, honored and feared throughout legend. Compared to their standard forms, the Crown forms brought not only visual changes, but drastic power boosts, including their signature moves, Behemoth Blade and Behemoth Bash, which dealt double damage to Dynamaxed foes. Zacian became a blur of blue light, streaking toward Eternatus. Zamazenta followed close behind. Roar! Eternatus bellowed in rage. It was still battling Kyurem and Duskmane Necrozma when Zacian arrived. The constant 2-on-1 barrage had kept it too busy to notice the wolves. Dynamax Cannon. Red beams surged toward white Kyurem. Kyurem evaded effortlessly, wings blazing. In that opening, Duskmane Necrozma charged and fired Photon Geyser. Boom! Eternatus gritted through the hit and countered with another Dynamax Cannon, blasting Necrozma squarely. It hissed in pain. But then, a flash of blue steel. Zacian charged in, sword glowing with fairy aura, growing ever larger. Roar! Eternatus's roar turned manic. It recognized this dog. This was the one who shattered its body 3,000 years ago. Its rage ignited. Fire gathered in its claws. It remembered its mistake. Dragon and poison moves were useless against this monster. This time, it would fight smarter. But Zacian was faster. With a vicious slash, she unleashed Behemoth Blade. Clang! The golden slash erupted like a holy explosion. Even though steel wasn't super effective, Behemoth Blade's bonus against Dynamaxed foes made it brutally powerful. Eternatus reeled. It gathered flames again, max flare. But Zamazenta arrived just in time, hurling Behemoth Bash straight into its claws. Boom! Its aim was thrown off. One after another, the legends took turns landing hits. Rah! Eternatus roared in fury. Again! These dogs again! Zacian's sword gleamed once more. Kiram gathered icy flames. Necrozma's body lit with golden energy. Behemoth blade. Fusion flare. Photon geyser. Boom. 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 A triple assault slammed into Eternatus's massive body. Even at its peak form, it howled in agony.
It tried once more to charge Max Flare, but it was too late.
The next wave was already coming. Damn, Leaf muttered, watching the relentless beating. It's really a punching bag, huh?
Eternatus really knows how to take a hit, Dylan praised.
Its defense and stamina were monstrous. Despite being countered, it was still on its feet. Even now, it was trying to fight back.
None of its retaliations had succeeded, not one. Every time it gathered energy, another strike knocked it down.
Still, it kept going. That alone was impressive. But eventually, even Eternatus couldn't last. The enormous vortex-like body finally collapsed, crashing into the earth. Its giant claws twitched, gasping for breath. Menace. Zacian landed.
Her cold eyes locked onto Eternatus.
No hesitation. No mercy. She stepped forward. It was time to end this. Eternatus raised its claws, staring back with equal fury. It wasn't afraid, it was pissed. This shameless mutt. Calling it the menace? Coming at it 4-on-1? How about a fair fight? Come at me 1-on-1 if you dare. Eternatus's mind roared. See if I don't turn you into a dead dog. Chapter 345, You're a bit too extreme.
Eternatus was thoroughly indignant.
It couldn't help but feel it was incredibly unlucky. Who could understand this pain?
It had run into dogs. It had arrived on this planet via a meteorite, and for a long time, it had stayed peacefully asleep.
It didn't have any evil schemes in mind.
Then, after 17,000 years, it found itself running out of energy. So, to stay alive, it did the only logical thing, it began absorbing the energy of the land. That was just for survival.
What was wrong with that?
But the process was a bit loud, and soon too much showed up.
They didn't even bother to talk.
Just ganged up on it and beat it half to death, completely shattered its body and scattered its remains all over the place. It barely escaped destruction, and due to massive energy loss, it had to spend 3,000 years recovering.
And now, just barely awake, it got ganged up on again. Even worse than last time, now it was 4-on-1. Have some shame. At least try fighting 1-on-1. Getting beaten was bad enough, but then that mutt with a sword started calling it a menace again? Menace your. Eternatus was fuming. But Zacian didn't care in the slightest.
Step by step, she walked toward the weakened Eternatus, her blade growing longer and sharper. This time, she was going to chop it into 108 pieces and scatter the remains.
Let's see it try coming back after that. The atmosphere grew colder and more lethal by the second, icy killing intent spilling off Zacian in waves. Kiram.
A cold ray of ice shot out from the hovering Reshiram Kiram, striking the ground in front of Zacian. She stopped in her tracks. The ice beam flared, forming a giant crystal, which then shattered into sparkling powder drifting through the air. Zacian looked up at Kiram, her sharp gaze silently questioning the interruption.
Zamazenta stood nearby, also glancing at Kiram. But Kiram didn't care about their reactions. It was only following Dylan's command. And if they had a problem? Then bring it on. Kiram was still itching for a real fight.
Eternatus, meanwhile, looked from one to the other, thoroughly confused.
Weren't these guys just cooperating to beat it down? Why did it feel like they were about to start fighting each other? You don't have to go that far, Zacian. Dylan's calm voice carried through the air.
Riding atop Reshiram, he descended with his companions.
Rose followed behind, riding a Corviknight. Reshiram landed, and Dylan stepped forward, examining Zacian up close.
What a magnificent sword king she was! Zacian turned toward him, her eyes still frosty and unreadable. Zamazenta stepped up behind her, wherever she stood, he stood. Eternatus has already been defeated, Dylan said gently.
What were you planning to do just now? I can guess, he added. You did the same thing 3,000 years ago. But you didn't finish the job. But this time is different. It didn't cause serious damage. Killing it isn't justified. Dylan's voice was calm.
He hadn't expected Zacian to be this intense in real life. She wasn't just cold, she was brutally decisive. Truly a sword king in both name and nature.
You don't understand it.
A cool, clear voice echoed in everyone's minds.
Ha! Leaf and Lily froze. Rose was shocked too. Dylan raised a brow. No doubt about it, Zacian was speaking through telepathy. So she really was the elder sister, huh?
Technically, the Pokédex listed Zacian as genderless, but lore suggested a sibling or rival relationship with Zamazenta. Besides, Pokédex data wasn't always accurate.
Lugia was also listed as genderless, yet the anime had a Lugia mom and a baby Lugia. What do you mean? Dylan asked, intrigued.
It's a parasite, Zacian said coolly, her gaze flicking to the beaten Eternatus sprawled on the ground.
Eternatus glared at her. You mutt. It feeds on energy like a parasite. Don't be fooled by its power. Its very existence is a mistake.
Zacian's tone was calm but absolute.
She could tell Dylan wanted to tame Eternatus.
But to her, Eternatus had no value, no right to exist.
You're the mistake, you merciless mutt.
Eternatus was quietly wondering if it could manage a max flare in its condition. It tried igniting a spark in its claw, just a flicker of red light.
Yeah, no. Way too injured. That spark couldn't even burn off one of Zacian's hairs. See? It's still trying to sneak attack me. Zacian didn't even turn around, voice icy. Eternatus? A hopeless parasite. Eternatus? Cut it up and toss the ashes into the sea, that would be mercy. Eternatus? Lily. Leaf, Dot. Dylan, Zacian, don't you think you're being a bit extreme? Am I?
Zacian tilted her head slightly and looked at her brother.
Zamazenta shook his head vigorously, terrified to disagree. I'm not extreme.
I'm protecting this land, Zacian said flatly.
You still don't understand. This thing can't survive without absorbing energy. That means this situation will repeat itself. You weren't there.
You didn't see what it did 3,000 years ago.
Back then, the Chaos Eternatus caused almost destroyed Galar. Countless Pokemon Dynamaxed out of control. Cities fell. Despair reigned. All because of it.
No Pokemon exists without a purpose, Dylan replied slowly.
I understand your concern, but what if I take responsibility? I'll watch over it myself. I'll ensure this never happens again. You're already strong.
You don't need more power, Zacian said, eyes fixed on him. It was clear she didn't trust him. I'm not doing this for power, Dylan said warmly.
The world's already beautiful. Let's not destroy it over fear. I believe no Pokemon is born evil.
Even those labeled dark can change with the right guidance. He smiled, undaunted by Zacian's razor-sharp gaze.
Zacian fell silent. You don't trust me? Dylan asked. Still no answer.
Then how about this, stay with me?
Watch me. Watch Eternatus. If it ever steps out of line, you'll be there.
His smile widened.
Rose blinked. Wow. He's not just after Eternatus, he's trying to win over Zacian too?
The guy's guts were unreal.
Zacian tilted her head again.
If Eternatus follows me and still causes trouble, I'll end it myself.
That's my promise. Dylan meant it. He liked Zacian. If she joined him, it'd be amazing. But it seemed she wasn't so easily persuaded. Silence fell again. Big sis? Zamazenta looked over. Clearly, Dylan wasn't backing down. Zamazenta didn't think it was worth a fight, especially with Kurum and Necrozma still floating overhead.
And the Crown Tundra King standing right behind Dylan.
Zacian clearly understood all that.
She stared coldly at Eternatus one last time, then withdrew from her crowned form. Her gleaming sword dissolved into a rusted one, which floated over to Dylan.
He caught it, raising a brow.
"If that parasite acts up again, use that to call me," Zacian said.
Then she vanished into a streak of blue light. Zamazenta also stepped back, glanced at Dylan, gave a respectful nod, and followed. They're gone. Dylan turned the rusted blade over in his hands. The Fairy King's blade. Said to be able to cut through anything. Even dragon scales like paper. Only Zacian could wield it. To others, it was just an indestructible relic. She had left it with Dylan, just in case. "So, Eternatus, are you going to get in the ball yourself, or should I help you?" Dylan approached, holding a luxury ball. "I nearly got into a fight with Zacian and Zamazenta over you. Don't play dumb, you get the idea." He added that last part with a smile, but the pressure was real. Eternatus went quiet. Then, a voice somewhere between male and female rang in Dylan's head. "If I go with you, will I get a chance to beat the crap out of those mutts someday?" "Depends. Maybe I'll need you for a capture battle." Dylan was genuinely surprised. "So Eternatus held a grudge too, huh?" "Deal." Eternatus responded instantly. It knew it didn't have a choice. It wasn't stupid. "Great. Let's shrink you down first, this form's a bit much." Dylan sprayed a potion on it, healing it enough to move.
Red light flared. Eternatus returned to its standard bone dragon form.
Dylan tossed the luxury ball. Click. No shake. Caught. Eternatus, caught.
Dylan picked up the ball, turning it in his hand with satisfaction. Another powerful dragon for his team, and a poison-type powerhouse at that. Poison had always held a special place in his heart. It was his first ever team theme, after all. Maybe next time someone pulls the Golden Legend team from the randomizer, he'd use Eternatus to give them a proper welcome. It had been a while since a lucky player pulled a gold rank set. "Congratulations on catching Eternatus, Dylan." Rose smiled. He had expected it, but not like this. Seeing the legendary heroes? That had been a treat. "Thanks. Couldn't have done it without you," Dylan replied. "No, thank you." Rose shook his head, laughing wryly. If they'd stuck with his original plan, Gaylor might have been doomed. He could accept being hated. What he couldn't accept was causing the fall of the region he loved. "I need to go calm the public," Rose added, checking a message from Olina. They still had a lot to clean up. "Of course," Dylan said. "Go handle what you need to." Rose flew off. Dylan looked around. The battlefield was wrecked. The stadium? In ruins. Good thing Rose had evacuated everyone in advance, or it could have been much worse. "Calyrex? What's up?" Dylan turned to the silent monarch, who was furiously typing on a phone, brows furrowed. "I won a chess match online, and my opponent insists I cheated," Calyrex said, frustrated. "Ha!" Dylan sighed. Calyrex had recently become obsessed with online puzzle games, especially chess. "He said if he was using cheats and still lost, then I must have been cheating too," Calyrex muttered. Leaf rolled her eyes. "Some people just can't accept losing. I told him I was a king once." "A king would never cheat," Calyrex said solemnly. 6, Dylan replied. The events in Stow-on-Side had caused quite a stir. After all, a large number of citizens had been evacuated, and Eternatus's emergence had created a massive disturbance, followed by a battle involving multiple legendary Pokémon. Thankfully, Chairman Rose made a public statement, declaring that although it had been a grave crisis, it was now perfectly resolved thanks to Champion Dylan's assistance. Rose truly knew how to handle things. He even helped Dylan raise his reputation throughout the Galar region. And with Rose preoccupied for the rest of the day, it worked out well because Dylan had already planned to head somewhere. The Isle of Armor, formerly known as the Armor of Solitude. Located in the eastern waters of Galar, the island was once uninhabited. But after Mustard settled there, he gave it the name Isle of Armor. Dylan and his companions rode Reshiram, following the map they'd gotten from Leon. As Leon was Mustard's former disciple, he naturally knew the way. Mustard had built a dojo there, a training ground, though not officially a Pokemon gym. It was his personal dojo. When the three of them arrived, they were greeted at the entrance by a mature woman. "You must be the friends Leon told us about? Please come in, my husband has been waiting for you," the woman, Honey, said warmly and politely. "Thank you." Honey led the trio into the dojo's main hall, where an elderly man in casual attire was watching a video on his phone, lost in thought. "Honey, the guests are here," she said. "Husband?" Lily and Leaf widened their eyes, staring at the elderly man, then at the radiant Honey. Wait, these two were married? They looked like they were at least 34 years apart. Huh? They're already here? Ha ha ha, I've been looking forward to this. You must be Dylan, right? Lou. Hearing the voice, Mustard turned his head, his eyes lighting up as he got up and walked over with a hearty laugh. Though clearly elderly, he radiated vibrant energy. His body might have aged, but his spirit was still young. "Senior, I've long admired you. I hope our sudden visit doesn't offend," Dylan greeted respectfully. "Ah, don't be so formal. I'm thrilled you came. I was just watching your battle with little Dandon," Mustard said cheerfully, hands behind his back and eyes crinkled in amusement. "Little Dandon? As in Champion Leon?" "Put." Leaf nearly burst into laughter. She didn't expect the champion to have such a cutesy nickname. "Incredible. Little Dandon's even stronger than I was in my prime, and yet you completely swept him." "Amazing." Mustard truly admired Dylan. He understood Leon's power intimately. They'd recently sparred when Leon visited the previous year. But Dylan had utterly steamrolled Leon. What a terrifying young man. "You flatter me, Senior," Dylan said politely as ever. He truly respected Mustard. Not only had the old man once been a top-tier trainer, he was a living legend. Mustard, Leon's predecessor's predecessor as Galar champion, with Peony, Rose's younger brother, in between, had once been the gym leader of a fighting-type gym before climbing to the top of the Galar League. He earned the title, the strongest champion in history, holding an unbeaten record for 18 years, still unmatched across any league. After the death of his partner Pokemon, Mustard's performance declined, and he eventually lost his title. Later, he retired entirely after being asked to throw a rigged match. A truly respectable elder, now retired to the Isle of Armor to mentor the next generation. "Come, sit. I heard from little Dandon that you came to see me for something, right? Lou." Mustard gestured for the trio to sit, while Honey brought them tea. "Let me guess, you're here for my bear student?" He smiled at Dylan. Though retired and aging, he didn't think he had much to offer someone like Dylan, especially someone who had beaten Leon so easily. So clearly, Dylan had come for one reason, Kubfu. "You're right, Senior. Besides wanting to meet you, I'm here for Kubfu." Dylan didn't hide it. Kubfu, a legendary Pokemon, wasn't known to the public anymore. The only one who had it was Mustard, as he was a Kubfu trainer. "I'm quite fond of Kubfu. When I heard you had one, I asked Champion Leon for your location. I do have a bear student. If it's you asking, I see no reason to refuse. However," Mustard smiled. One of the reasons he opened the dojo was to find a worthy successor for Kubfu. And Dylan? Obviously wouldn't let the little guy go to waste. "Please, go ahead," Dylan nodded. "How about a battle with this old man? I haven't gone all out in ages, but..." Mustard raised a finger, his expression suddenly serious. "You're not allowed to use those legendary dragon types you brought out against little Dandon. I'm not him, I'm old and can't handle that kind of beatdown." Ha ha ha. He chuckled at the end.
He'd just watched Dylan's battle with Leon, and those dragons were brutal. Of course, Dylan said with a smile. Then let's head to the backyard. I've been itching for a real match. Mustard's excitement was evident. He led them to the dojo's vast training field. Several of Mustard's students were already training there. When they saw the group approach, curiosity stirred. Master's going to battle? Oh man! I've been here for months and never seen him fight. Wait, isn't that Champion Dylan? The one who battled Leon yesterday? Definitely. Black hair, black clothes, you can't miss him. Is he about to battle our master? Is this gonna be another sweep? Man, Dylan's wild. Beat the current champ and now challenging the old champ? He's taking down every Gaylor champion in order. The students watched eagerly as Dylan and Mustard took their positions. The battle with Leon had spread across Gaylor. Dylan's face was well known. Being able to watch a match live? A rare treat. Especially with their own master as the challenger. Though, none of them actually expected Mustard to win. You punks, none of you have faith in your master, huh? Mustard scolded with a laugh. His cheerful, easygoing nature, and perhaps his humor, was what kept him so lively at his age. I'll be the referee. Leaf volunteered enthusiastically. I was the official ref at the Rada gym. Of course. If I'm not mistaken, you're one of Kanto's 4 elites, right? Mustard said, clearly amused. Though retired, he'd researched the current Kanto League after hearing about Dylan. And was shocked to find all 4 elites had been replaced. Hee hee, you've got sharp eyes, senior. Leaf grinned. Well, let's begin then. Leaf coughed theatrically, pulled out a tiny flag from who knows where, and gave Dylan and Mustard a sweeping look. The match will now begin. Participants, Dylan versus Mustard. Rules, 3-on-3, switching allowed. The first to lose all 3 Pokemon loses. Battle, start. She waved the flag and stepped off the field. On the scoreboard, the pointer spun and landed on Dylan's side. I'll go first, then. Dylan didn't seem too concerned. He looked at Mustard. Since I'm battling a master like yourself, I'll treat this with the proper respect. He loosened his collar and gracefully pulled on a pair of black gloves. I know you're a fighting type expert and a former gym leader. So allow me to ask your guidance on handling fighting type Pokemon. My first Pokemon will be this one. He tossed a Pokeball behind him. Great Tusk, prepare for battle. The Pokeball burst open midair, white light flashing as a wild, powerful presence emerged. A savage-looking Great Tusk landed with a heavy thud, growling low toward Mustard. Oh Great Tusk, what a magnificent Pokemon! Lou. Mustard's eyes gleamed as he gave the Pokemon an appreciative once-over. As one of the Paradox Pokemon discovered and recently documented by Professor Oak and Professor Snow, Great Tusk's existence was known to those keeping up with Pokemon research. And for an experienced fighting-type specialist like Mustard, a new species like this was especially intriguing. A fighting type, eh? Then this old man will start with him. Mustard didn't hesitate. He tossed out his own Pokeball. Mincheo, I'm counting on you. A lithe, ferret-like Pokemon landed gracefully. Standing on 2 legs with sleek white fur and elegant purple markings, Mincheo coolly raised its arms, eyeing Great Tusk without flinching. Beat Mincheo, fighting type. Martial arts Pokemon. Ability, inner focus. Moves, high jump kick, bounce, aura sphere, drain punch, focus blast, fake out, detect. Info, its arm fur functions like whips. Once it starts striking, there's no stopping it. This Mincheo looks strong. Leaf blinked, visibly impressed. She hadn't expected Mustard, despite his age, to field a Pokemon that radiated such speed and precision. Of course it's Mincheo up first, Dylan muttered, a knowing smile tugging at his lips. He remembered that in the games, Mustard always led with Mincheo when going all out. Earthquake! Dylan commanded, launching the first strike without hesitation.
Great Tusk roared, raising its body before slamming its feet down, the ground beneath them glowing with earth and energy.
Fake out.
But Mincheo was faster. With a flicker of motion, Mincheo darted forward and struck Great Tusk with a sharp palm strike, light, but fast enough to flinch.
Thwack! Great Tusk staggered back, momentarily dazed, halting the earthquake before it could be executed. The Pokémon looked around in confusion, as if thinking, where am I? What just happened? Bounce! Mustard followed up instantly.
Mincheo leapt high into the air, twisting mid-flight with acrobatic flair before diving toward Great Tusk, foot extended.
Ice Spinner!
Great Tusk quickly recovered. Curling its limbs inward, it began to spin like a top, shards of frost forming around it, an ice-type technique, Ice Spinner. The spinning tusk creature veered sideways, just barely dodging Mincheo's downward kick.
Mincheo's foot hit empty ground as Great Tusk twirled and counterattacked. Very nimble Ice Spinner, and highly trained. Mustard's eyes narrowed. But no attack was landing just yet. Brick break!
Mincheo twisted aside from the spinning assault and swept in with a glowing palm, slamming it down toward Great Tusk's flank.
Grab it! Great Tusk's trunk suddenly coiled upward, intercepting the strike. It latched around Mincheo's arm. Caught you! Dylan's lips curled into a smile. Speed was Mincheo's forte, but once caught, it couldn't escape easily.
Mustard was momentarily startled.
He hadn't expected Great Tusk's trunk to be that dexterous. Drain punch!
Mincheo immediately tried to retaliate, channeling energy into its other hand.
Play rough! Dylan's counter came just as fast.
With a feral snarl, Great Tusk surged forward, fangs and claws glowing with pink light, fairy energy.
Bam! Mincheo's drain punch struck first, landing cleanly on Great Tusk's gut. But the elephant Pokémon didn't even flinch, it powered through and slammed its glowing tusks into Mincheo.
Mincheo screeched, the fairy-type move hitting super effectively.
It stumbled. Aura Sphere! Mustard called. Finish it! Dylan shouted at the same time. Another play rough! Mincheo began forming a glowing orb between its palms, but it was too late. Crash!
Great Tusk lunged forward again, hammering Mincheo with a second play rough. The blast of pink energy exploded on impact.
Mincheo was sent tumbling back, barely conscious. Mincheo is unable to battle. Great Tusk wins. Leaf raised her little flag and called the result. Yikes! That Pokémon's feral. Seriously intense. Charging in like it's got nothing to lose. Master got wrecked, caught once and it was over.
No wonder he's the Kanto champion, crazy strong.
The dojo students whispered among themselves. Mustard recalled Mincheo, staring thoughtfully at its Pokeball. Senior, how'd you like my use of a fighting-type Pokémon? Dylan smiled politely. Fighting type, huh? Mustard's face twitched slightly. You really dare say that was a fighting-type battle? You didn't use a single fighting move. You've got no fighting-type trainer spirit, you rascal. Chapter 346, Kubfu. The Furious Divine Avatar. Fighting types rely on excellent agility and overwhelming strength to crush their opponents. Dylan's tone was calm, refined, and confident. So where did your Great Tusk demonstrate either of those things? Mustard couldn't help but grumble internally.
That whole last match, Dylan's Great Tusk just kept spamming play rough straight into Mincheo's face.
That was it. Haha, well said, as expected of you, little Dandon. Mustard chuckled brightly, nodding in agreement. Dylan's expression froze for a second. Little Dandon? Put. Leaf and Lily couldn't hold back their laughter. What kind of cursed nickname was that? Sensei, I think maybe. Dylan tried to steer the conversation and hopefully escape this new moniker.
He knew Mustard had a habit of handing out cute nicknames. Like how he called Leon Little Lele. But Little Dandon? He really couldn't take it. Little Dandon. My second Pokémon is this one.
Mustard declared proudly, cutting him off as he tossed out his second pokeball. Let's go, Kamo!
A flash of light burst forth, and a grayscale dragon landed in front of Mustard. Its body was plated in scale-like armor, arms long and muscular, walking upright with a powerful tail tipped in metallic scale rings.
It was the pseudo-legendary Kamo. Beep Kamo Dragon/Fighting type. Scaly Pokemon. Ability, Soundproof. Moves, Clanging Scales, Clangorous Soul Blaze, Close Combat, Boom Burst, Outrage, Dragon Dance. Info, it clashes its tail scales to intimidate enemies.
It only fights those who do not fear it.
Leaf wasn't surprised. Kamo was a known powerhouse among Mustard's team. Kamo, huh? Interesting. Dylan studied the Pokemon from head to toe.
As a pseudo-legendary from Gen 7, Kamo was powerful but not exactly famous.
Despite its unique Z-move and signature moves, it never really gained widespread popularity. Balanced but not exceptional.
Durable but with a glaring 4x fairy weakness.
But still, a true Kamo trained to its peak could be a terrifying threat. Return, Great Tusk. Dylan recalled his first Pokemon. Slither Wing, let's go.
He threw out another Pokeball, and with a low roar, a massive moth-like creature landed heavily in front of him.
Beep Slither Wing. Bug/Fighting type. Paradox Pokemon. Ability, Photosynthesis. Moves.
Leech Life, First Impression, Bulk Up, Close Combat, Lunge, Morning Sun, Earthquake. Info, this Pokemon's appearance resembles a prehistoric version of Volcarona once described in a mysterious magazine.
Another Paradox Pokemon.
Dylan preferred to cycle his Pokemon when not in a formal match, to give each of his team time on the field.
Another Paradox Pokemon? Lou.
Mustard was intrigued by the feral-looking Slitherwing.
Indeed.
I hope you'll get to experience its strength firsthand.
Ha ha ha. Bring it on, little Dandon. I'm ready. Lou. Mustard was raring to go. Fine. Dylan smiled wryly. Might be better to use Iron Valiant here. First impression. Slitherwing lunged forward, its gold cross-shaped eyes gleaming with savage glee. It surged toward Kamo with astonishing speed. As a bug-type priority move, First Impression only worked upon entering battle, but it packed a punch. Kamo! Mustard called out sharply. The dragon raised its burly arms in defense, barely managing to brace. Boom! Slitherwing crashed into Kamo, forcing the dragon back several steps. Kamo resisted bug-type moves, so the damage wasn't critical. But Dylan had never intended to rely on it for that. Acrobatics. Slitherwing spun in the air, flipping its massive body forward. White energy burst from its wings as it slammed toward Kamo. Flying-type acrobatics double power when no held item is equipped. Fire Punch. Mustard didn't expect that. Kamo's fist ignited in flame and swung upward to meet the descending Slitherwing. Crash. Fire met flight. Sparks exploded, but the power behind acrobatics overwhelmed Fire Punch, and Slitherwing's bulk struck home. Kamo growled in pain. The flying type move had a type advantage over its fighting typing, and while the dragon was sturdy, it wasn't enough to turn the tide. Earthquake. Slitherwing landed and slammed both forelimbs down. Rumble. The ground burst with seismic waves, rippling toward Kamo. Aerial Ace. Mustard responded immediately. Kamo leapt into the air, twisting to avoid the earthquake, then dove at Slitherwing in a silver blur. Bug/Fighting type Slitherwing was quad weak to flying. No wonder Mustard used this. But Dylan had expected it. Zen Headbutt. Slitherwing's head shimmered with psychic energy. It met Kamo's charge head-on. Boom! The two collided mid-air. Psychic energy shattered the silver aura. Kamo howled in pain, blown back by the impact. Psychic fighting. Clean hit. He actually overpowered Kamo. That moth's really cool. Master might lose this round. Kamao can't keep up in close combat. He needs space to use ranged attacks. But the bug won't let him. The dojo students were captivated. They were right, Kamao was balanced in stats and had solid special attack, but Slitherwing had gotten in too close, too fast. There was no chance to create distance. Mustard's expression tensed. He needed a way to break this rhythm, but the relentless barrage left no time to think. One more hit and Kamao finished. Return. Mustard finally withdrew Kamao. He couldn't risk a full knockout. That brings us to the final round, he exhaled deeply. Whenever you're ready, Sensei. Dylan smiled. Mustard took off his jacket, revealing a sleeveless yellow GI bearing the cross sword and shield emblem on the chest. He stepped forward, left hand extended toward Dylan, right hand pulled behind, his classic fighting pose. Watch closely, little Dandan. This is what you came to the Isle of Armor to find. Cub Fu. He threw his poke ball. Light exploded and a powerfully built black bear landed, feet planted in a fighting stance, paws clenched in fists, red head fur flaring upward. The legendary Pokemon. Rapid Strike Style Urshifu. This is Urshifu? Lily's eyes sparkled, and her Rotom Dex zipped over. Beep Urshifu, Rapid Strike Style. Fighting/Dark Type. Wushu Pokemon Ability, Unseen Fist, Moves, Wicked Blow, Focus Punch, Close Combat, Thunder Punch, Detect, Sucker Punch, Aerial Ace, Info, believes in finishing foes with one blow. Launches a devastating strike with its well-trained fists upon charging in. Strong. Very strong. This was Lily's third time seeing a trainer with a legendary Pokemon, outside of her brother. The others were N and Plomer, and technically Leaf, since Dylan had gifted her one of the Galarian legendary birds. Urshifu. Dylan gazed at the commanding figure before him. Between Rapid Strike and Rapid Strike forms, he definitely preferred the former. Sure, Rapid Strike was 4x weak to Fairy, but it looked way cooler. Too bad it would always lose to Rapid Strike. Maybe, use some hair gel to spike Rapid Strike's head up and make it look fiercer? Have it mimic the Rapid Strike pose? Could work. Return, Slitherwing. Dylan snapped back to focus. Iron Valiant, let's go. He threw his third Pokeball. A humanoid Pokemon descended, half kneeling, then rising in one smooth motion. In its hand gleamed a reversed Crimson Blade. The Paradox Pokemon, Iron Valiant. Beep Iron Valiant. Fairy/Fighting Type. Paradox Pokemon Ability, Quark Drive, Moves, Spirit Break, Moonblast, Leaf Blade, Night Slash, Psycho Cut, Feint, Info. Shares traits with inventions rumored to be made by mad scientists. Has features resembling both Galate and Gardevoir. Iron Valiant stared down Urshifu with unblinking, mechanical eyes. Another Paradox Pokemon, huh? But it doesn't matter, this is Urshifu. Mustard grinned wide. Even against a Fairy-type Urshifu was king. Urshifu. He recalled his partner. His Dynamax band flashed crimson. Scarlet energy surged into the Pokeball. It grew massive. 1, 2, 3, the ball pulsed, and Mustard hurled it into the sky. Whooshii. Dark clouds swirled as Urshifu emerged, now towering in Gigantamax form. Crimson stripes streaked its body. Its face was twisted in a furious roar. Blood-red head fur flared, 3 scarlet clouds circling its head. Gigantamax Urshifu Rapid Strike Style. Beep Urshifu, Gigantamax, Rapid Strike Style. Fighting/Dark Type Ability, Unseen Fist.info, said to be the embodiment of fury. Its terrifying roar and appearance are believed to drive away evil from the world. It looked absolutely terrifying, but the Dex called it a holy protector? Leaf squinted up at the Colossus. Sure looked like it would punch God. A divine avatar, banishing evil with righteous fury. Dylan was impressed. The longer he looked, the more he liked it. Then I'll Gigantamax too. He recalled Iron Valiant. His own Dynamax band pulsed with light. 1, 2, 3,
Iron Valiant grew, rising to match Urshifu's towering form. 3 red clouds circled its waist.
A Gigantamax battle. Leaf's eyes sparkled. Last time, Dylan's Necrozma had one-shot Leon's Gigantamax Charizard before it could fight back. She'd never seen an actual Gigantamax clash. Yes. This is a real showdown. Mustard was ecstatic. Urshifu, Max Mindstorm. Urshifu couldn't rely on fighting or dark moves, fairy types resist both. Psychic was the play. Max Starfall, Dylan said calmly. Moonblast transformed into Max Starfall, summoning pink energy above Iron Valiant. At the same time, Urshifu roared, summoning rainbow energy. Boom, pink stars crashed into Urshifu. Rainbow rings exploded around Iron Valiant. Both hits landed. The field glowed purple, psychic terrain. Although Max Starfall would have created misty terrain, Max Mindstorm overrode it. But terrain aside, the damage was clear. Again, Max Starfall. Dylan noted the immense impact the first hit had on Urshifu. It was 4x weak to Fairy. And while its physical defense was solid, its special defense was not. Iron Valiant launched another pink star. Max Guard. Mustard panicked. One more hit might knock Urshifu out. A shimmering wall blocked the star, nullifying the damage. Third Max Starfall, Dylan said smoothly. You shameless brat, 3 in a row? Mustard winced.
If he tried Max Guard again, it might fail, only a 1/3 chance to succeed after consecutive use.
He had to risk an attack. Max Ooze.
Urshifu raised its arms, poison erupting from the ground.
Boom.
The third star struck true, slamming Urshifu hard.
Poison geysers burst beneath Iron Valiant.
Both Pokémon were hit, but Urshifu crumpled. The terrain shifted once more to misty terrain as Max Starfall's effects took hold.
The clouds dispersed. Gigantamax ended. Iron Valiant knelt, shrinking back.
It was battered, but standing.
Urshifu wasn't. Urshifu was unable to battle. Iron Valiant wins. Leaf waved her flag.
Technically, Mustard still had Kamo left.
But. Nope. I forfeit.
Mustard picked up his jacket and brushed off the dust, chuckling.
Still, he looked a little defeated. 3 battles, all with fighting types. And Dylan hadn't used a single actual fighting type move. He really got me good. Leaf blinked, then nodded. No way Kamo, who was also 4x weak to Fairy, could turn the tide. Waves upon waves, you're incredible, little Dandon. Lou. Mustard came over with a big smile.
Though not in his prime, Mustard considered himself still quite formidable. But Dylan had run circles around him.
You flatter me, Sensei. I only had a type advantage. Bah! Don't be modest. I got wrecked. Mustard grinned. Come. Let's talk inside.
You lot back to training. He ushered Dylan and the others into the dojo's main hall. To be honest, Mustard said, sipping tea, one reason I built this dojo was to find a worthy trainer for Urshifu's offspring.
He pulled out a pokeball. I think you're the one. Take a look.
A burst of light revealed a cream-colored bear cub, standing tall with shut eyes.
It launched into an energetic flurry of punches and kicks. After the routine, it noticed Dylan and froze, then scurried behind Mustard to hide. Shy little thing, huh? Leaf giggled. Ha ha. Only around strangers.
But this cub has incredible potential, even more than its parents. Mustard rubbed the little one's head.
Little cub, this is your new trainer, little Dandon. Be your best, alright? The cub peeked at Dylan. Hello. I'm Dylan. Let's get along.
Dylan knelt and extended a hand, radiating a soothing green aura from his verdant power.
The cub relaxed immediately. Bah!
It marched up, posing confidently with one hand on its hip.
Good energy. Once you've grown strong, we'll come challenge Sensei again. Bah! Better train hard then, little guy. Mustard laughed. By the way, Dylan, have you decided which form to evolve it into? Dylan fell into thought. Rapid Strike or Rapid Strike, huh? Chapter 347, Time to Go Back. To be honest, Dylan was feeling quite conflicted.
Personally, he preferred the single strike style a bit more, but that glaring 4x weakness to fairy-type attacks was a serious flaw.
The reason Mustard's Gigantamax Urshifu lost to Dynamax Iron Valiant earlier was precisely because of that fatal vulnerability.
The Rapid Strike style was definitely more practical overall, mainly because it didn't have such a pronounced weakness. Let's let Kubfu choose for himself when the time comes. Which path he evolves down should be up to him. Dylan rubbed Kubfu's head with a smile. He had to admit, the little guy had a great feel to him.
Bah! Kubfu's eyes lit up at that, sparkling with excitement. This trainer is so kind. He actually respects me. Ha ha ha, well said.
Whether it's Rapid Strike or Single Strike, both are incredibly strong in their own right.
Mustard blinked for a moment, then chuckled in satisfaction.
He suddenly felt that handing Kubfu over to Dylan had been an incredibly wise decision.
Absolutely the right call.
With the important matters settled, Honey went to prepare dinner, and Mustard naturally insisted on having Dylan and the others stay for the meal.
TCH, got matched with that cheater again. Suddenly, Mustard started muttering in annoyance. Cheater? He was holding his phone. Dylan glanced over. It looked like he was playing a Go app.
Mustard, as it turned out, was actually quite fond of video games.
His profile even mentioned it. I've been matched against this guy multiple times. He's definitely cheating. Who even cheats in Go of all games?
He grumbled as he exited the app, clearly frustrated.
And his username, too.
The Lone King kids these days are seriously over the top.
Mustard shook his head in disapproval at the edgelord tendencies of Galar's modern youth. What's wrong with you guys?
Mustard frowned at the weird looks from Dylan and the others.
Dylan looked conflicted.
Lily and Leaf, having heard what Mustard said, had also gone stiff with awkward expressions.
Meanwhile, seated beside Dylan, Calyrex casually glanced at Mustard. I am a king by nature. Even if I no longer rule Galar, I am still Calyrex. What part of that is edgelord? And I wasn't cheating. I wasn't.
Of course, Calyrex wasn't going to argue over something so petty. His pride wasn't that fragile. Master Mustard, the World Championship will be held next year.
Are you planning to participate?
Dylan deftly shifted the topic.
After all, Calyrex was right there.
It was already the end of the year. Mustard had surely heard about the tournament.
After all, Leon was his student.
This was Galar's big opportunity to make a splash on the world stage. To be fair, Galar had plenty of champion-tier trainers.
Leon was especially strong.
Leon, Raihan, Mustard, Peony, 4 champion-level trainers, not even counting Gloria. If it weren't for the monster-level trainers in Kanto, Galar could very well be the strongest region.
But in reality, both Mustard and Peony had very low public visibility now. Mustard had retired long ago, his dojo secluded. Most people outside a niche group didn't even know his name anymore. Peony was even more obscure.
Though he had once served as Galar champion, he resigned shortly after Rose became chairman, due to their personal conflict.
Peony's rise had been meteoric, but so was his retirement.
It had been many years since then, and few even remembered him. Aside from those 4 canon champion-tier trainers, Gloria and Hop were both prodigies.
Gloria aside, Hop, Leon's younger brother, was basically born with a cheat code.
Though in the early and mid-game of Sword and Shield, he constantly lost to Gloria and was even crushed by Bede to the point of losing confidence.
By the end, he rose rapidly, rekindling his fighting spirit.
He even tamed the legendary Zamazenta, becoming one of the rare few acknowledged by a legendary Pokémon.
World Championship, huh? Sigh. This old man's bones are getting up there, you know.
Mustard rested his chin in his hand.
He had been thinking about it.
He was tempted, but it also felt a bit out of place for an old-timer to be competing against youth for ranking.
But your heart isn't old, Master. Dylan smiled. Haha, you're smooth as ever, Dandon. Mustard laughed heartily. With your strength, you'll probably be ranked number 1 when the tournament starts, won't you? I should be. Dylan nodded with a trace of regret.
Given his current fame and the fact that he had just absolutely demolished Leon, there was no question he'd be seated number 1 from the start.
You don't look happy about it though? Mustard asked, puzzled. Being number 1 means I won't get to challenge anyone ranked below me. That takes a lot of the fun out of it. Dylan sighed lightly.
Honestly, if he were really entering the World Championship, he'd have preferred to fight his way up. Climbing the ranks through battle, that was a sense of fulfillment.
Being handed the top spot from the get-go wasn't his style.
Mainly, being ranked number 1 meant he couldn't initiate challenges. He had all these teams ready, but no chance to give others a taste of the fun. He'd be stuck watching from the sidelines in the early stages while everyone else battled it out.
It was unsatisfying. Ha! Mustard blinked. But others can still challenge you, Dandon. Pfft, Master, I don't think anyone will be challenging my brother. Lily giggled.
She had traveled extensively with Dylan and met countless powerful trainers. At this point, the only region she hadn't been to was Kalos. Most champions across the world already knew of Dylan.
With him sitting pretty at the top of the board, who would be crazy enough to go challenge him?
And since he couldn't challenge anyone ranked below him, it meant no matches.
It was boring. Can't argue with that.
If it were me, I wouldn't challenge Dylan either.
Mustard tilted his head in thought for a moment. Fair enough.
If they hadn't agreed beforehand that Dylan wouldn't use any of his terrifying dragon-type legends, Mustard wouldn't have wanted to battle him either.
Even Leon got obliterated, what chance did anyone else have? After dinner, Dylan politely declined Mustard's offer to stay overnight at the dojo. He and the others rode Reshiram toward Hammerlock City. When they returned, it was already past 8 p.m.
Dylan picked up a fresh batch of Pokemon from the teleport room at the hotel, courtesy of Professor Rowan. He headed out to the hotel's private training field.
Come on out.
He opened 3 Pokeballs, releasing 3 Pokemon before him in a flash of light.
Hello there. From today on, I'll be your trainer. Dylan crouched down, smiling warmly.
A gentle wave of Viridian force flowed out from him, instantly winning the 3 little ones over. On the left was a small, light brown puppy with big blue eyes.
Beep Rockruff. Rock type. Puppy Pokemon. Ability, Inner Focus. Moves, Rock Throw, Double Team, Sand Attack, Tackle, Sucker Punch, Egg Move. Info, as it matures, its personality becomes more aggressive.
Some trainers abandon it when it becomes too much to handle.
That's right, Rockruff.
Though not the own tempo version Dylan had hoped for. He had been aiming for the special Rockruff with own tempo, which could evolve into dusk form Lycanroc.
But he wasn't too disappointed. No rush. He wasn't planning to build just one rock-type team. Rowan could keep looking for the right one.
Besides, both midday and midnight forms were solid with proper training.
Dylan wasn't picky. Next, he looked at the one in the middle.
A deep gray, metallic body with stubby legs and a large round head. Pale blue eyes, clearly a little steel beast.
Beep Aaron. Steel/rock type. Iron Armor Pokemon. Ability, Heavy Metal. Moves, Rock Tomb, Metal Claw, Harden, Tackle, Draco Meteor, Egg Move. Info, a troublesome Pokemon.
It eats iron ore to build its steel body, but sometimes chews on bridges or train tracks.
Nice. A heavy metal Aron.
Once it evolved into Agron, it could dish out brutal heavy slams.
Dylan nodded in approval.
He'd need to stock up on iron ore to feed this one.
The more it ate, the better it'd grow.
And lastly, the Pokemon on the far right looked bizarre.
Just a dark blue chunk of rock with two little feet and a hexagonal hole in the center. But that hole wasn't its eye, it was its ear. Deep Roggenrola. Rock type. Mantle Pokemon. Ability, weak armor.
Moves, stealth rock, harden, sand attack, tackle, gravity, egg move.
Info, it reacts to sound. Its core emits heat, making it warm to the touch.
A Roggenrola with weak armor, which would eventually evolve into a Gigalith with Sandstream. If he was building a rock-type team, then Sandstream was essential even though his Tyranitar already had the ability. But T-Tar was the ace, he couldn't always be the lead. Having Gigalith around gave him options. Honestly, Dylan already had quite a few rock types. Iron Thorns, Iron Treads, Nihilego, Stonjourner, Tyranitar, Regirock, that was already 6. But Pokemon like Regirock were too strong for standard challengers. The same went for most of his other teams. Most Pokemon had dual types, so overlapping types were inevitable. Like his fairy types. Dylan hadn't even tried to build a fairy team, but he already could. Gardevoir, Whimsicott, Sylveon, Mimikyu, Hatterene, Grimmsnarl, that was 6 already. Plus Screamtail, Fluttermane, Iron Valiant, and Enamorous. It just worked out that way. Just then, Dylan's phone rang. Hello? Chairman? What's wrong? It was Chairman Damalanthe. Dylan, it's bad. Lance attacked earlier today. What? Dylan was stunned. Senior Lance already made his move? That was fast. This afternoon, Lance struck Mahogany Town in Johto. Reports say Team Rocket had been gathering there. The Slowpoke well was destroyed in the process, and Dragonair's attacks harmed some innocent civilians.
They're being treated now. Dylan, he's going too far. Damalanthe sighed heavily.
He knew Lance wouldn't stop after leaving the league, but he didn't think he'd act so quickly. I'm worried he might go after Vermilion and Fuchsia gyms next.
Because the gym leaders there were Surge and Koga.
Damalanthe believed they had reformed, but Lance probably wouldn't care. All he'd care about was that they were once Rocket executives.
Damalanthe genuinely feared Lance might go so far as to attack entire cities. I understand.
I'll return as soon as possible, Dylan replied after a moment's thought.
He agreed Lance probably wouldn't spare Surge or Koga. Dylan. You're the only one who can stop him. Damalanthe let out a long breath. He didn't want to see Lance descend further into darkness.
I'll do my best to wake him up.
Dylan nodded.
After hanging up, he remained silent. Lance was an extremist almost to the point of madness. In adventures, he had to be defeated to snap out of it. For someone like that, only a crushing defeat could make him reflect. But Dylan didn't believe that defeating Lance himself would be enough to change him. Their relationship was complicated. Even if Dylan won, it wouldn't force Lance to reflect. But if he didn't step in, even Giovanni and the others probably couldn't stop a Zekrom-wielding Lance, let alone if he brought out a Lugia. And Giovanni wasn't going to summon Mutwo to fight. That would only provoke Lance further. Maybe. An idea formed in Dylan's mind. He knew what needed to be done. It was time to return to Kanto and deal with Senior Lance. Chapter 348, Time to Challenge My Master. Returning from Galar to the Kanto region happened the following day. Rosas personally saw them off at the airport, fully fulfilling his role as host. He truly was a master of etiquette, but unfortunately, Dylan had no intention of settling in another region. After landing in Viridian City, Dylan and his group rode Reshiram back to Rhoda Street. It had only been a few days, but seeing the familiar Rhoda gym again filled him with warmth.
And then, Gym Leader Boss. As soon as they entered the gym, a sweet and enthusiastic voice called out, making Dylan's eyelids twitch.
A girl wearing a straw hat and an orange floral crop top came running up excitedly.
When did you get back, you rascal? Dylan laughed as he gently pushed the girl's head out of his chest and looked at her curiously. Yes, this was Celine. I just got back to the gym yesterday,
and I heard you'd be coming back today, so I came early this morning. Celine's smile was sweet and cheerful, her big eyes bright and full of energy. Behind her, noticing the commotion, Asha, Yellow, and Silver came out from inside the gym. She really did come back yesterday afternoon, Asha confirmed. Not bad, you seem to have grown a little taller. Dylan sized up his eldest apprentice. Although she had been away on her journey for 3 months, Celine was still very much herself. Full of life, bright and energetic. Just like she always claimed, her energy didn't lose to the sun or moon. Of course. I'd been traveling with my own 2 feet every day. Celine proudly puffed up her chest. Sister Leaf, Lily, long time no see. Celine turned to greet the other 2 girls warmly. While the group chatted, Dylan turned to head for the backyard to release his Pokémon. But it didn't go as planned. Wait, boss, are you tired from your journey? Not really, why? Then I want to challenge you, gym leader boss. Everyone froze at her words. But Celine's fighting spirit was blazing. She opened a badge case and proudly held it up. Hee look, gym leader boss. I've already collected all 8 official gym badges. It wasn't hard at all. She beamed. Even when she asked the gym leaders to go all out, she still breezed through them. Viridian Gym? Oh, that was her first gym, it was before she got all cocky. Wow! Celine, you've made such fast progress, Asha exclaimed. It was easy. Celine smiled brilliantly. Not bad, you didn't disappoint me. Dylan glanced over the badges. He wasn't surprised, with Celine's strength, it was only natural she'd gather them all. So now I want to challenge you, gym leader boss. I've reached champion level. Celine's bright eyes gleamed with excitement. Of all the gyms out there, the one she most wanted to challenge was still her teacher's. Her gym leader boss was the one she wanted to defeat the most. She was going to be Kanto's champion. That's right, this was her master challenge arc. Woo, let's go! Leaf grinned mischievously, fully enjoying the upcoming show. Celine's going to challenge gym leader boss. Yellow and Lily blinked, anticipation lighting up their faces. Silver said nothing but studied his senior apprentice closely. Alright, you know the rules, Dylan said with a smile, motioning toward the giant type selection wheel. Yay! Celine cheered, running over to the wheel and pressing the button excitedly. Usually she just watched others spin it, this time, it was finally her turn. The pointer spun quickly, clicking from one type to another before stopping on black. Dark type. Ugh. Dark, huh? Celine's cheerful expression didn't waver, but she still pouted a little. Lame. Soon, the 2 stood on opposite ends of the battlefield, ready for the match. Now commencing the Rhoda Gym Challenge. Challenger, Celine, of Rhoda Street. Battle format, 6v6 full team battle. Gym leader Dylan must send out first and cannot switch Pokémon. The challenger wins when all 6 of Dylan's Pokémon are defeated. Begin! Leaf raised her little flag to signal the start and stepped off the field. Celine, you can do it. Got it. Celine flashed Leaf a radiant grin in return. The scoreboard lit up with both trainers' portraits. The match was on. Celine looked at the man standing across from her, his black coat flowing behind him. Her breathing quickened. Thump, thump, thump. Her heart was pounding. Standing across from her was Dylan, her teacher, the man who gave her her first Pokémon, her greatest inspiration. She still remembered what he'd said when they first met. I may not be a famous trainer, but I'll give you my all. Back then, the Rhoda Gym wasn't well known. But for her, just a rookie, being accepted as a student of a gym was already a dream. And now, Dylan was the champion of Kanto. Rhoda Gym was the most renowned gym in the region. Celine had always known how lucky she was, incredibly lucky. Dylan guided her patiently, gave her rare and powerful Pokémon, and never held back his support. So Celine never slacked off. She would prove she was strong. She was worthy. Dylan hadn't chosen wrong.
Didn't think this day would come so soon.
Dylan lightly adjusted his collar, then pulled a black glove from his pocket. Celine, from the moment I met you, I believed you were a natural-born trainer with incredible talent. He smiled gently as he slowly pulled on his glove. Celine's eyes sparkled with emotion as she stared at him. I was sure you would one day stand at the top of the world, one of the strongest.
And you haven't let me down.
Her grin widened involuntarily. Her eyes squinted like crescent moons. That recognition from her gym leader boss, it made her so happy.
You've been on your journey for some time now.
So today, as your teacher, I'll test your progress.
He didn't use his usual opening speech. This wasn't just any challenger.
This was his beloved first disciple.
Yes, sir.
Celine straightened up, bursting with energy.
Show me everything. Let me see how far you've come. Dylan enlarged a pokeball and tossed it underhanded. Your first opponent will be Umbreon. Ready for battle.
With a flash of light, a sleek, black-furred fox-like Pokémon landed quietly before him. Its crimson eyes were sharp, golden rings glowing on its body.
Umbreon, the Moonlight Pokémon. A Dark-type evolution and one of Dylan's newly trained team members. Beep Umbreon. Dark-type. Moonlight Pokémon. Ability, Synchronize.
Moves, Mean Look, Screech, Moonlight, Quick Attack, Toxic, Light Screen, Reflect.
Info, evolves influenced by the moon's waves. Stalks from the darkness, its rings glow before it strikes. Not leading with Incineroar? Makes sense. His Incineroar might be too powerful for a fair gym battle now, Leaf murmured. Umbreon, huh? Celine eyed the Pokémon. If she remembered right, Dylan hadn't had this one before she left. Must have been trained recently. Still, she wouldn't underestimate it, not with Dylan behind it.
He trained like he had cheat codes and battled with pure unpredictability.
Incineroar. Let's go.
She threw out her own first Pokémon, her starter, her trusty Incineroar.
It roared as it landed, baring its fangs at Umbreon.
But when it spotted Dylan standing behind the Umbreon, it paused, question marks practically floating above its head. Of course it recognized him. He was the one who had given it to Celine.
Incineroar. Stay sharp. We're up against gym leader boss today, no slacking. Roar.
The feline wrestler roared again, now fully focused. Its Intimidate triggered, lowering Umbreon's attack by one stage.
Umbreon remained still and composed, blood-red eyes narrowing coldly.
Meanwhile, several curious visitors filtered into the gym, drawn by the rare chance to see it open. When they saw Dylan and Celine facing off, they erupted.
A student challenging her master. Let's go, Celine.
Dylan gestured for her to make the first move.
All right. Incineroar, fake out. Dylan didn't move. As the highest priority move, fake out was nearly impossible to dodge. Incineroar blurred forward, a red streak, and smacked Umbreon across the face with a heavy paw. Its head tilted slightly from the impact, but a second later, Umbreon straightened, its glare even colder. Taunt. Calm mind. Dylan smiled faintly. Of course he knew Incineroar's classic combo. Incineroar placed its hands on its hips and taunted Umbreon with a stream of insults. Umbreon began to breathe more heavily. Still, it centered itself.
Gentle ripples of psychic energy shimmered, calm mind.
Its special attack and special defense both rose.
Incineroar vanished in a flash of light, returning to its ball.
Gengar. Celine quickly sent out her second Pokémon.
The grinning purple ghost floated beside her poison/ghost type, Gengar.
Like teacher, like student. Leaf sighed. Fake out taunt Gengar switch in. Classic Dylan tactic. Celine really had inherited the style perfectly. Chapter 349, Dylan's so sneaky. Gengar, huh? But Gengar is countered by Umbreon, right? True, but Gengar isn't just ghost type.
Up in the stands, the bird breeder trio were back again. They'd just been knocked out of the Indigo Conference and had come to Rota to unwind. And what do you know, they happened to catch Dylan back at the gym, facing off against Celine.
No way they were missing this.
That Umbreon has Synchronize as its ability, but Gengar's also Poison type, so no need to worry about status bouncing back.
The Psychic-type specialist glanced at the cold and aloof Umbreon, clearly annoyed.
He specialized in Psychic types, and the Pokemon he hated most were ones immune to his specialty.
Dark counters Ghost, true, but Gengar's also Poison type.
Back in the day, Dylan was best known for his infamous trio, Dark, Poison, and Ghost. Gengar perfectly embodied the nasty mix of Ghost and Poison, tricky and frustrating in every way.
Using Toxic was standard for it. And while Synchronize could pass along status like Poison or Burns,
Gengar's Poison type made it immune to Poison status from Synchronize.
On the field. Gengar, huh? Dylan chuckled lightly.
Okay boss, it's time to get serious. Celine's pale, delicate face curved into a smile. Gengar was one of her all-time favorites.
Let's go. Gengar.
Celine raised her right arm, her left pressing on the dazzling gemstone on her bracelet.
Yeah. Gengar's sinister grin deepened as the Mega Evolution stone on its wrist began to glow. Mega Evolution, power beyond normal evolution.
Brilliant light enveloped Gengar, and in moments, the newly transformed Mega Gengar appeared. Its upper body remained deep purple, now bristling with spikes, while the lower body faded into a reddish purple. In the center of its forehead glared a gold, coin-like eye, and its blood-red gaze twisted with menace.
Going straight to Mega Evolution? Leaf blinked in surprise at the sight of Mega Gengar.
Rotom Dex floated over to the girls and immediately began scanning.
Beep Mega Gengar, Ghost/Poison type. Shadow Pokemon.
Ability, Shadow Tag. Moves, Dream Eater, Destiny Bond, Mean Look, Shadow Ball, Toxic, Perish Song, Hypnosis. Info, it steals life from everything, sometimes even its own trainer becomes a target for its curses.
Mega Evolution. TCH. No surprise, that moveset was almost identical to Dylan's shiny Gengar. Shadow Tag. Dylan glanced at Umbreon's shadow. It had already been bathed in an eerie red-purple glow. Umbreon was now trapped by Mega Gengar's Shadow Tag. Under normal conditions, it couldn't be withdrawn.
Shadow Tag acted like a passive Mean Look, preventing opponents from retreating.
Sure, moves like Baton Pass or U-Turn could bypass it.
But even with exceptions, Shadow Tag was still a royal pain.
Because not every Pokemon had an escape move. Still, that didn't really matter to Dylan. As a gym leader, he couldn't switch out Pokemon anyway. Celine's reason for going Mega was clear, the stat boost for Gengar was massive. Hee Gengar, imprison. Celine's smile widened as she issued her next command. Mega Gengar's evil grin mirrored its trainers perfectly. A giant X shimmered in front of it. Imprison, a Psychic-type move. Dylan blinked. This girl. Whoa! That imprison move.
Lily and the others were stunned.
That was savage. Mega Gengar could learn a ton of moves. And now, this imprison just made it downright vicious. Imprison prevents the opponent from using any move the user knows.
Dylan Smeargle had once used it against Wallace, completely shutting down his Milotic. Even Water Gun became unusable, and it nearly drove Wallace over the edge.
But now, that same move was being used against Dylan by his own student. And Celine really knew what she was doing.
Intimidate from Incineroar, then Mega Evolve Gengar, Shadow Tag to trap, and now Imprison. This combo would make anyone's brain melt.
Thunder Wave. Dylan ordered without hesitation. Strike while the Imprison was still charging. This was his best chance. Umbreon sparked with electric current and fired a Thunder Wave straight at Mega Gengar. Celine blinked but didn't dodge.
Paralysis was annoying, but completing Imprison was more important.
The Imprison took hold, the giant X fading into Mega Gengar's body.
The Thunder Wave hit right after. Golden electricity danced over Mega Gengar's body, and it winced in discomfort.
Paralysis took effect. Crunch! Dylan didn't hesitate. Umbreon lunged at Mega Gengar. Its movement wasn't fast, but Umbreon's strength lay in its sharp reflexes, not its speed.
Paralyzed, Mega Gengar could only watch as Umbreon charged in. Soon, the paralysis passed, and Mega Gengar regained control.
Umbreon bared glowing fangs and bit down on Mega Gengar's arm. A dark-type crunch. But Mega Gengar melted into shadow and slipped underground. Dazzling gleam. Crunch!
Moments later, crimson eyes glowed beneath Umbreon's shadow. A sinister laugh echoed, followed by a burst of pink light. Fairy-type, dazzling gleam. But Umbreon reacted quickly, spinning around and lunging to bite Mega Gengar mid-attack. The paralysis had slowed Gengar too much.
Chomp! Umbreon's crunch landed squarely on Mega Gengar's arm, and it grunted in pain as the dazzling gleam blasted Umbreon in return.
The impact was huge. Umbreon skidded backward on all fours, digging into the ground to stop.
Its blood-red eyes locked coldly onto Mega Gengar.
Strong special attack, Dylan narrowed his eyes. Umbreon had high special defense, and Calm Mind had already raised it by 1 stage.
But a non-stab dazzling gleam had knocked it back hard.
Sure, fairy types countered dark, but clearly, Mega Gengar's special attack was monstrous.
Impressive defense on that Umbreon.
If I remember right, it knows Baton Pass.
I'll need to use Taunt to keep it on the field.
Celine kept her sweet smile, but she was deep in thought.
If Umbreon used Baton Pass, it could escape Shadow Tag. She couldn't just taunt blindly. Boss would have Umbreon use Baton Pass instantly if he saw that. No, she had to bait him.
Lure him into staying, then taunt and either go full offense or wear it down with Curse. Mega Gengar had pain split, after all, no worries about HP.
With her strategy decided, Celine's smile grew even more radiant and innocent.
We've got to take out this Mega Gengar, or we'll be stuck without half our moves.
Dylan considered his options. It was tricky.
That imprison move was seriously annoying.
Umbreon, Baton Pass. Dylan gave the order immediately. Nasty plot. Celine blinked, then caught on. If you're switching, I'm powering up.
Mega Gengar's eyes gleamed black as dark energy surged around its body. Nasty plot, sharply raising special attack.
Umbreon turned into white light and returned to its Pokeball. Dylan tossed out another. Weevil. You're up. A flash of light, and the sinister-looking Weevil landed, flashing sharp claws that gleamed like ice. An ice/dark-type Weevil.
Switch to Weevil, looks like it's time for an all-out assault. The older sister crossed her arms, analyzing.
Umbreon wasn't a main attacker, it relied on strong defenses and counterplay. But with half its moves imprisoned, Umbreon couldn't do much now.
Yeah, and Mega Gengar's still paralyzed.
Weevil is a logical pick. The only concern is Gengar's special attack. And it just used Nasty Plot, the psychic-type trainer muttered.
Mega Gengar's special attack was already terrifying after Mega Evolution, now it was 2 stages higher.
Weevil, huh? Celine studied it, clearly one of Boss's newer aces. Still, Weevil had a 4 times weakness to fighting. Weevil, Ice Shard. Dylan called the command without delay.
Weevil's claws gathered chunks of ice, launching them at high speed while it charged behind.
Ice-type priority move, Ice Shard. Thunderbolt.
The ice shard flew fast.
Electric sparks danced over Mega Gengar's body. Thunderbolt, an electric-type attack. But right then, Mega Gengar froze. Paralysis. Celine frowned slightly.
Ice Shard pelted Mega Gengar, it winced but took the hit without too much trouble.
Its Mega form had decent defenses. But Weevil was already there. Pursuit. Weevil slashed at Mega Gengar with claws shimmering with dark energy.
Gengar cried out in pain.
Dark-type, Pursuit. Its power doubled when the target was switching or had just been hit. This one hit hard. Thunderbolt. Celine wasn't flustered.
Electricity burst from Mega Jengar in retaliation, bright yellow lightning lit the battlefield. But Weevil slid back smoothly, nimble and quick, dodging the attack with ease.
Sucker punch!
Having avoided Thunderbolt, Weevil stepped in close again. Mega Jengar backed away, it was too late to shadow out. Weevil was just too fast.
The gap couldn't be widened. Paralysis is doing its work. Everyone could see it.
The Thunder Wave was paying off, without it, Jengar would never be slower than Weevil.
Weevil accelerated again, its dark form dashing to Mega Jengar's side.
Its claws, glowing purple-black, tore across Jengar's body.
Dark type, sucker punch. Mega Jengar howled in pain, its condition was getting worse. Something was off. Was it setting up Destiny Bond? Pain split? Dylan narrowed his eyes.
Jengar wouldn't fall behind this badly unless it had a reason.
Pain split. Right then, Celine called out.
Mega Jengar glowed white, the same light burst from Weevil.
Normal type, pain split. Just as Dylan suspected. Dylan couldn't help but click his tongue. This girl. Always picking the crooked paths. Chapter 350, Dylan's Mega Evolution. Pain split.
Twin bursts of blinding white light surged from Mega Jengar and Weevil, merging midair before splitting evenly and flowing back into their bodies. Mega Jengar's condition visibly improved, while Weevil suddenly looked much weaker, its breathing ragged.
Thunderbolt.
Mega Jengar turned, golden electricity sparking wildly before lashing toward Weevil.
Icicle crash. Weevil flipped high into the air, dodging Thunderbolt as icy blue energy condensed into massive icicles. Ice-type, icicle crash.
With a sharp swipe, Weevil hurled the ice pillars down toward Mega Jengar.
This Weevil's insane, look at that movement.
The older sister's eyes gleamed. She had sensed this back when Dylan used Weevil in his Ice-type lineup. But now it was even clearer, this Weevil was seriously cool.
Yeah, it's incredibly sharp.
Everything about its movements is fluid and precise, the bird breeder praised.
Paralysis had slowed Mega Jengar's reaction time, it just couldn't keep up. Jengar.
Celine's eyes flickered rapidly. Mega Jengar retreated, trying to dodge the crashing icicles.
But suddenly, electric arcs flared again. Paralysis struck. This is bad.
Celine's expression hardened. Paralysis at this moment was the worst-case scenario.
Boom. Boom. Boom.
The enormous icicles slammed down on Mega Jengar, who cried out in pain.
While Ice-type moves weren't super effective, Weevil's stab-fueled icicle crash still hit hard.
Weevil landed with claws out, dashing straight for its target.
Pursuit.
Its claws wreathed in dark energy, Weevil slashed again.
Slash. Mega Jengar took the hit, groaning. A double power pursuit, it was brutal. Keep using pursuit, finish it. Dylan commanded without hesitation. This Mega Jengar was too much of a threat. Better to take it out now. Weevil's left claw stabbed out again. Destiny Bond. Celine shouted. Mega Jengar's eyes glowed black. So it was Destiny Bond. Should Weevil pull back?
Lily and the others weren't surprised Jengar having Destiny Bond was expected, and in this situation, it made sense.
But would Weevil hold back or go all in? Turns out Weevil didn't even flinch. Its pursuit landed again.
Mega Jengar let out a pained cry and collapsed, light flashing as it reverted from megaform.
Jengar was down. But the next second, a gray deathly aura drifted from its body, seeping into Weevil. Weevil clutched its chest, grimacing in pain before collapsing too. Weevil and Jengar are both unable to battle. Leaf stepped forward to announce the result. They took each other out.
I thought Boss would have Weevil dodge that, the older sister muttered.
Destiny Bond couldn't be used again in quick succession. If Weevil had backed off just a moment, the move would have failed. Boss didn't want to risk it.
He couldn't be sure Celine wasn't bluffing and about to use Pain Split again.
The psychic-type specialist shook his head.
Going all in was the best choice, no debate.
That Mega Jengar was far too disruptive.
Seal, Pain Split, Shadow Tag, nothing about it was easy to deal with, he continued.
It had to go.
He was right, Mega Jengar had tied down Dylan's whole team.
Whether Destiny Bond had really been used or not, Weevil had to press the attack. If Celine had been bluffing, great. If not, a trade was still worth it. You really are something, boss.
My poor Jengar, so cute, and yet so brutally taken down, Celine said pitifully, returning her Pokémon. The entire gym stared at her with question marks.
Give me a break, Dylan shot back, exasperated. Hee teacher, how'd Jengar do? Celine asked with a grin.
You used too many cheap tricks. You overlooked Jengar's real strength, Dylan sighed.
Huh? Celine blinked in surprise. Jengar's power is impressive, especially after Mega Evolution. But you didn't showcase it.
You focused on trying to reverse the tide with Pain Split, when it wasn't even necessary.
And that Thunder Wave, you didn't have to take it. You could have dodged it. As her teacher, Dylan pointed out her mistakes plainly.
After all, she wasn't just a challenger, she was his former student.
In Dylan's eyes, Celine had wasted the potential of her Mega Evolution. Mega Jengar wasn't just about annoying abilities, it had raw power, especially its monstrous special attack. Few Pokémon could match Mega Jengar's damage output. But Celine hadn't shown that.
She leaned too hard on Destiny Bond and Pain Split, great tools for turning a fight, but not worth forcing a disadvantage just to use them.
That was missing the point. Still, Dylan understood.
With paralysis slowing Mega Jengar, it was hard to keep up with a nimble Weevil. At the core, the real issue was letting that Thunder Wave hit in the first place.
I get it now. Celine reflected.
At the time, she thought trading paralysis for a guaranteed seal was worth it, a win-win.
Alright, let's keep going.
I'll scold you more later, Dylan said, tossing out another Pokeball.
Umbreon returned to his side. Yes.
Celine slapped her cheeks lightly, clearing her head. She smiled again, full of fighting spirit.
Venusaur. Get ready for battle. She even mimicked Dylan's catchphrase, she'd always thought it sounded cool.
Her Pokeball opened, and with a heavy thud, a huge toad-like quadruped landed on the field.
Its skin was greenish-blue, covered in warty bumps.
A thick brown trunk rose from its back, topped by a fully bloomed flower.
Kanto's grass starter's final evolution, Venusaur. Deep Venusaur. Grass/poison type. Seed Pokémon. Ability, Overgrow. Moves: Solar Beam, Power Whip, Synthesis, Sleep Powder, Leech Seed, Ingrain. Info: uses sunlight as nourishment to grow its massive flower. Always faces the sun. A strong Venusaur. Leaf looked the Pokémon up and down. No surprise, it was Celine's. Did you evolve this from the Bulbasaur you got from Professor Oak? Not bad, Dylan complimented.
When Celine had set out, he'd sent her to Pallet Town to get a starter, seeing she'd raised it quickly.
Yeah, but only because boss called ahead. Professor Oak took extra care of me. It was already an Ivysaur when I got it. Celine beamed. She really liked this Venusaur.
It was already strong, so Oak figured we'd be a good match, and I totally love it. Since it was already powerful when she got it, Venusaur quickly became one of her core team.
Venusaur's a solid choice. Dylan nodded. Enough chit-chat. Venusaur, Ingrain. Celine ordered. Taunt. Dylan's eyes sharpened. Umbreon's gaze glinted, its voice mocking and jeering at Venusaur. Taunt, a dark-type move. But Venusaur moved first, growling as thick roots burst from its body and sank into the earth. Grass-type, Ingrain. By rooting itself into the ground, it could periodically heal HP, but it couldn't be withdrawn anymore. Taunt's ripple followed, and Venusaur glared at Umbreon with rising anger. Taunt successful. Just a step too slow. Dylan sighed.
Without Prankster, support moves like this were always on a tight clock.
Baton Pass. Dylan decided to switch. Umbreon wasn't built to break through a healing Venusaur. Wonder what he'll send out next. Celine was curious. Umbreon and Weevil were both new to her. Umbreon returned to his Pokeball. Dylan threw another. Absol.
His third Pokemon burst from the ball in a flash of white. A sleek Pokemon with white fur and crimson eyes landed gracefully before Dylan. It had a dog-like body, dark blue face, and a crescent horn on its head.
Absol. Beep Absol. Dark type. Disaster Pokemon. Ability, Super Luck.
Moves: Parish Song, Future Sight, Swords Dance, Sucker Punch, Night Slash, Slash, Detect, Close Combat.
Info: said to appear before natural disasters like earthquakes or tsunamis.
Known as the Disaster Pokemon.
Bosses Absol. No matter how you look at it, Absol is just so cool. Yellow's eyes sparkled as she stared at the cold and graceful Pokemon. Silver nodded, he liked its cool, aloof vibe. It really suited him. Absol? Celine tilted her head, intrigued by the unfamiliar Pokemon. It's not over yet, Celine. Dylan raised his right hand, his keystone shimmered. Absol raised its head with a howl, the stone on its neck glowing in sync. Light enveloped it. Mega Evolution. Whoa, boss is Mega Evolving too. Of course.
When challengers power up, he always shows them the same respect.
Haven't seen Mega Absol before, though.
Absol's rare. Not many people train them, superstition and all.
The audience whispered excitedly.
As the light faded, a stunning figure stepped forward, its crimson eyes locked on Venusaur.
Gasps filled the gym. No wonder Mega Absol was gorgeous.
It had grown larger.
Its back fur stood tall like majestic white wings.
The horn had grown, and long bangs fell across half its face.
Regal. Elegant. Intimidating. Mega Absol. Beep Mega Absol. Dark type. Disaster Pokemon. Ability, Magic Bounce. Moves. Info: its Mega Evolution energy manifests as an overwhelming aura of dread.
Weak-willed foes may die of fright.
Wow! That's super cool. Celine's eyes lit up. This Mega Absol was exactly her type aesthetically. Those wings, too pretty.
Alright, Celine, Dylan said, smiling as he reached out. Let's see how you handle Mega Absol's power. That wraps up this part of What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader.
Thanks so much for listening.
As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well.
See you in the next one.